purchase any future Israel bonds. I, as an American Jew, in solidarity with Palestinians and all marginalized communities in diaspora, will invest in our movements for collective liberation and especially in Palestinian-led organizing for justice, equality, and freedom for all in the region. Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide.
Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide.
You are funding genocide.
You are funding genocide.
Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide.
Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide.
You are funding genocide.
You are funding genocide.
Indiana, you will see.
Indiana, you will see.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
Indiana, you will see.
Indiana, you will see.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
The only course of action.
The only course of action.
Boycott, divestment, sanctions.
Boycott, divestment, sanctions.
The only course of action.
The only course of action.
Boycott, divestment, sanctions.
Those who are in the street now are in violation of Indiana law and subject to arrest.
Okay.
Please take this
I
moment
pledge.
to get out of the street.
Now how should I
Thank
give?
you.
As you give to organizations in the movement for Palestinian freedom, we offer some considerations for how you invest with the greatest impact. For decades, Palestinian organizing has been structurally and systematically under-resourced, criminalized, and repressed. Here are some considerations about how to give in a way that breaks down those structural barriers. 1, give to Palestinian-led organizations, both on the ground and in the U.S., invest in the vision and the brilliance of Palestinians leading their own liberation struggle. In addition to mutual aid funds, consider investing in the organizations working tirelessly to address root causes of injustice and achieve fundamental change. 2, give as much as you can. If you can give more than the value of your bonds, push yourself to do so. Make multi-year commitments. Invite your friends and families to match your gift and to get to know the organizations you are supporting. 3, give without conditions. Make gifts toward the general or operating expenses rather than with preconditions or prescriptions. This allows organizations to resource and advance their existing strategies and priorities. Notice and challenge gatekeeping. As a donor, consider seeking out and learning about new Palestinian-led organizations. If you find out about organizations from mainstream media or through philanthropic sources, consider anti-Palestinian bias or political litmus tests that might influence the organizations you've heard about. Healthcare, jobs, and education.
Healthcare, jobs, and education.
No more war and occupation.
No more war and occupation.
Healthcare, jobs, and education.
Healthcare, jobs, and education.
No more war and occupation.
No more war and occupation.
The only course of action.
The only course of action.
Boycott, divestment, sanctions.
Boycott, divestment, sanctions.
The only course of action.
The only course of action.
Boycott, divestment, sanctions.
Boycott, divestment, sanctions.
On Passover, our tradition invites us to ask questions. This Passover, I wonder what Pesach questions are fit for a time of genocide. We need questions that inspire transformative answers and liberative action in us and in our communities to, at the very least, cease the current genocide in Gaza. Question number 1, why is this Passover different from other Passovers? Genocide. The unique scale and devastating brutality of the current extreme escalation in Israeli state violence has murdered tens of thousands of Palestinians, still being counted, still being bombed, still being starved, still being murdered. At this very moment, Israeli forces are killing entire families and displacing countless others, now in a mass exodus from their homes, made refugees, shame, made refugees and ethnically cleansed en masse. Maybe the question is, why are Palestinians so different from Israelis, from Jews not even seen as human and deserving of basic resources? Food, water, housing, peace, security, human rights, the right to life. Where is the world? Watching? Where are we? Celebrating Passover? Question number 2. Why do we eat bitter herbs or maror on this Passover amidst genocide? This is a time for mourning, not celebration. White phosphorus, other chemicals and residue from bombs and bullets, tear gas and debris from destroyed buildings all pollute the air, water, and soil, pollute the earth, pollute Palestine, and pollute us all. This toxicity renders all celebration bitter. This year, we do not celebrate our liberation. We mourn ongoing genocide in which we are intertwined through our tax dollars, our religious, cultural, and political institutions, our identities, our own stories of liberation. This genocide, this mourning, this bitterness will not end when Pesach ends. Maybe the question is, should we eat only bitter herbs until a permanent ceasefire? When a ceasefire comes, if a ceasefire comes, what will be left to celebrate? Question 3, why do we dip twice this Passover? Palestinians are starving and they are gunned down, waiting for flour. They are thirsty and do not have access to potable water. Adding salt to water is an insult in times of blockade, strategic and intentional famine plaguing Gaza, surrounded on all sides by borders and bombs and salt water. Can dipping twice manifest a deeply self-critical reflection on privilege? Can it inspire action to end the siege, to feed the hungry, to satiate the thirsty? If we dip twice to remind ourselves of our privilege, of our responsibility to Palestinians rendered starving and thirsty in our name, then let us not stop dipping until Palestine is free! Free, free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Let us dip over and over again. Let us not forget our responsibility, our call to respond. Perhaps the salt becoming the sweat it will take to do the work. Dip repeatedly until Palestine is free. Free, free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Question number 4. Why do we use pillows and recline on Pesach during mass displacement? How can we recline while millions of Palestinians stand and sit and weep, prostrate outside their destroyed homes, when they experience forced migration, extreme housing insecurity, when there's no rest, no peace, no respite for Palestinians in Palestine in so-called 48 or across the world as we watch on in horror? If we let our Passover amidst genocide be a triumphant celebration of our ancestral escape from slavery, our pride and joy will only underscore our deep shame. In fact, I am moved to ask, does this year's Passover finally show that Pesach cannot be a collective celebration, but rather our collective acknowledgement of shame? Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide!
Oh, you can't hide!
You are funding genocide!
You are funding genocide!
Indiana, you will see!
Indiana, you will see!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
We are here now to honor Miriam as a prophet who protected her sibling and sang her people to cross into the narrow place and supplied her people with water while wandering through the desert. We honor the feminists and the queers and the trans folks who have always been the backbone of our movements. We reject Zionism's cynical attempt to pinkwash or purple wash its crimes in the same way that we reject the U.S. government's attempts to cover up its imperial wars in the Middle East as some sort of benevolent mission. Shame!
Shame!
We stand with Palestinian feminists and queers and saying, no one is free until we're all free. From Iraq to Palestine!
From Iraq to Palestine!
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime!
From Iraq to Palestine!
From Iraq to Palestine!
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime!
Oh, Biden, you can't hide!
Oh, Biden, you can't hide!
You're committing genocide!
You're committing genocide!
Oh, Biden, you can't hide!
much for being here today. We will now transition into singing as our comrades stand in solidarity with Palestinian and their liberation. Ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. Not in our name, not in our name, not in our name, not in our name. Stop the genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide. Let Gaza live, let Gaza live, let Gaza live, let Gaza live. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. Ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. Not in our name, not in our name, not in our name, not in our name. Let Gaza live, let Gaza live, let Gaza live, let Gaza live. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. Ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. Not in our name, not in our name, not in our name, not in our name. Stop the genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. Ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now.
This is Sergeant Meyer with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. Those on the street are now subject to arrest. Your final warning, we are starting arrest now.
Ceasefire now, not in our name, not in our name, not in our name, not in our name. Stop the genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide. Let Gaza live, let Gaza live, let Gaza live, let Gaza live. Free Palestine. genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. We rise. Humbly hearted rise. Won't be divided. Rise. With spirit to guide us. Rise. Sing along if you know it. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer. Elders with wisdom, rise. Ancestors surround us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise up from the wreckage, rise with tears and with courage, rise fighting for life, we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise up from the wreckage, rise with tears and with courage, rise fighting for life, we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us, rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise up from the wreckage, rise, tears and with courage, rise, fighting for life, we rise. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We will stay until everybody gets arrested. We are supporting our brave friends standing in solidarity for this movement. Thank you all so much for being here. We will keep singing and keep supporting our comrades. Thank you. Some chants.
free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide!
Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide!
You are funding genocide!
You are funding genocide!
Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide!
Oh, Holcomb, you can't hide!
You are funding genocide!
You are funding genocide!
Healthcare, jobs, and education!
Healthcare, jobs, and education!
No more war and occupation!
No more war and occupation!
Healthcare, jobs, and education!
Healthcare, jobs, and education!
No more war and occupation!
No more war and occupation!
Everybody, let's just give it up for our brave friends who lent it their bodies to these police who came here with rubber bullets, looking to censor a peaceful protest. We say, move, cop, get out the way. We know you're Israeli trained.
We know you're Israeli
We
trained!
say these violent, warmongering, upper-class protecting police, move, cop, get out the way.
Move, cop, get out the way!
We know you're Israeli trained.
We know you're Israeli trained!
Move, cop, get out the way.
Move, cop, get out the way!
We know you're Israeli trained.
We know you're Israeli trained!
We say free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Holcomb, Holcomb, you can't hide.
Holcomb, Holcomb, you can't hide!
You are funding genocide.
You are funding genocide!
Holcomb, Holcomb, you can't hide.
Holcomb, Holcomb, you can't hide!
Your complicity is a crime.
Your complicity is a crime!
The 10 plagues, the 10 spiritual plagues of genocidal Zionism. The 10 plagues of biblical times were material plagues that targeted the oppressors who held the Israelites captive. As American Jews, we have been conscripted into the role of complicity with those oppressing, murdering, and destroying a people and their history. To accept this role is to sacrifice our own divinity. There are Kabbalists who have mapped the 10 biblical plagues into the 10 separate rows, faces of the divine, starting at the bottom of the tree of life and working upward, using the same method to map out 10 spiritual plagues that befall those who benefit from and support the occupation of Palestine. As we read these, ask yourselves which of these plagues have impacted you. Consider what you may have lost and what it may take to repair. Plague 1, the loss of foundational connection to truth. This plague separates from us from our foundational truth as inhabitants of this planet. Where do we belong? Where is home? How do we ground into connection with the earth, and what does it mean to do so? Number 2, loss of ability to trust our dreams. This plague impacts our ability to dream as a Jewish people. The level of violence that we are witnessing and being asked to be complicit in requires us to separate from the messages of our subconscious and the magic of our dreams. Number 3, loss of perspective. This plague impacts our ability to have a clear perspective on what has happened, what we want, and where we are going. We become split, unclear, and difficult to understand and relate to. Our perspective comes not from our own sense of reality, but from a disembodied dictate. 4, loss of allies. This is the plague of isolation, where we make our true and greatest fears by assuming that we are somehow uniquely positioned as victims and that any actions we take out of fear are justified. To the rest of the world, we appear terrifying and dangerous. The interconnection and common destiny that we all share as inhabitants of this planet. When we attempt to place ourselves outside and above others, we sacrifice our own humanity. Loss of hope. This plague is of despair. It crumbles our beliefs in the possibility of transformation, severing connection with a loving God, sacrificing our faith to a punishing, warmongering, supernatural dictator. Loss of empathy. With this plague, we lose our ability to feel anything for those who are harmed, whether by our actions or by others. We find ways to blame others for their misfortunes and assume such things will never befall us if we stay strong and on top. Loss of clarity. This plague impacts our ability to make sense of complex sensory input and to know ourselves as part of the world, operating by the same laws of the universe as every other sacred fragment. Loss of wonder. This plague annihilates our ability to experience the world with openness and wonder, to appreciate the wisdom of child mind, and to merge with the infinite. Soul loss. Who even are we? Those who have experienced all these plagues without consciously unwinding them are lost to themselves. Only when we experience this ultimate and final plague is it possible to commit the gut-wrenching atrocities we witness at the hands of Zionist soldiers.
As we have said before today, none of us are free until we're all free. We refuse to let our traditions be used to starve, displace, and massacre Palestinians. Taking seriously the mandate of the Jewish holiday of liberation requires us to show up with everything we have on the doorsteps of those still arming and funding these historic atrocities. This year's holiday of liberation urges every one of us to step up our commitment to the liberation of the Palestinian people. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Join the BDS movement and act now against the companies profiting off of the genocide of Palestinians. I bet you a lot of the products you use and consume every day are somehow connected to this genocide. Investigate that for yourself. The BDS movement. Donate to organizations who are supporting the liberation of Palestine, especially the student associations who are facing lifetime repercussions for their steadfastness toward justice. If you cannot donate, share the calls for donation and GoFundMes for people attempting to flee. Your social media has power. Your voice has power. Use it. Call Governor Holcomb, your senators and representatives, telling them to listen to their constituents and